So you are a library yourself, sir.
Yeah, the citation, the judgment on the Evidence Act Section 123 के ऊपर unpublished official record, what constitute whether privilege can be given. The judgment is reported in AIR 1975 Supreme Court, page number 365, State of UP versus Raj Narayan. Okay? ये खोली देख लीजिए. I won't be reading it. The crux of the case I have given to you. The Allahabad High Court Justice Sinha took up the view that the parliamentary reports with regard to the expenditure of Indira Gandhi were on record, and they are unpublished record, when they are already come on record. Having been published, there is no immunity. There is no question of claiming privilege under Section 123. So in the opinion of the Supreme Court, it was different. The Supreme Court said that the entire material is not published, some matter is not published. So they took up the plea. That's a very nice judgment. Kindly go through that 75. And usse pehle, the law laid down by the Supreme Court with regard to admissibility of evidence 123, privilege communication, is a leading judgment of the Supreme Court. That is called Sukhdev Singh's case. That is AIR. Sukhdev Singh's case reported in AIR 1961 Supreme Court, page number 493. That's called Sukhdev Singh's case. I think the state of Punjab का होगा ये case. Sukhdev Singh, S.S. Singh's case is a very Justice Gajendra Gadkar's beautiful judgment, and where Justice Subba Rao has given a very interesting judgment, placing on record that year. And the document, the other side, the government may take up the plea that it's a privilege, but the court has a right to inspect it. The earlier Justice Gajendra Gadkar took up the view earlier, the court cannot inspect it. But subsequently said in the judgment, they said in the Sukhdev Singh case, Justice Gajendra Gadkar, the court also has no right to see the document if a contention is taken as a privileged document. But Justice Subba Rao disagreed it. That disagreement of Subba Rao prevailed, subsequently agreed upon in the Raj Narayan's case. That is the state of UP versus Raj Narayan case, where Justice Matthew and Justice Sarkar gave a little different supplementary judgment to Justice Ray's judgment. It's a beautiful one judgment. Go through this. I won't be elaborating it further. Yes. Yeah. Next question. क्या देखेंगे अभी इनको? Judges power to put question देख लिया आपने? Yes.
So I can't hear you.
No, you can't hear me now? Even now?
So you're loud and clear, sir.
अच्छा देखो, adjust करो, क्या नाम है, हवा का mic ठीक करो. Are you okay now? Are you able to hear
So
me now?
maybe it's my connection, so I can hear you a little better.
अच्छा, please connect here. See that your connection is proper. हो गया?
Yes, sir, better.
Yeah. Please do that. Yes. Yeah. Next question will be privileged communication, private and public documents. This we read yesterday, section 74 and 75. I won't again just briefly tell you. Passport is a public document. Election record is a public document. All parliamentary, legislative documents are public document. So you need not summon the President of India to give evidence. So they are accepted in the ordinary courts of nature. If certified copies you obtain, they become certified copies of secondary evidence coming under section 63(1). So they become admissible without examining the maker. Okay. Then 75 tells you all other documents are private document, like lease document, your contract document, letters produced, all are private document where you are required to prove your ownership of the authorship and who wrote it, the contents of the document to be proved. Unless the contents are proved, the document is not proved. Signature must be proved. Who wrote it, under what circumstance must be proved. But if the document is 30 years old under section 90, court may presume that it is coming from proper custody. But evidence to dislodge that presumption can be lodged by the other side that such a document never existed. Under Section 90A, electronic documents which are maintained for the 5 years, the court may presume that it is a correct document. So that you see that here, please, a private document. Then rules as to notice to produce, that we discussed, Section 163 of the Evidence Act. Notice to produce CPC के में भी तो पढ़े आपने, under Order 11 and Rule 13. Order 11, Order 13 के अंदर पढ़े ना, parties give notices. Order 11, 12 and 13, if you read conjointly, read along with Section 163 of the Evidence Act, which tells you when notice is given. I give you, giving as notice of a document called for and produce a notice. When any party calls for the document which he has given the other party notice to produce, and such document is produced and inspected by the party calling for inspection, he is bound to give it as evidence if a party producing requires to so. So during trial, I gave a lot of illustration to you. Yesterday also I gave you illustration of a litigation between a landlord and tenant, demanding particulars of the income. If you don't produce it, court will draw adverse inferences. In any litigation, in a contract for damages, in a suit for specific performance, you give the builder a notice, the document may not be in your possession. If he refuses to produce it, the court will draw adverse inferences. In a winding up petition, you give notice to the company as to why the amount is not paid. And you are hereby called upon to prove or bring your balance sheet of 3 years for you. They don't produce it, there will be adverse inference against the company. Isn't it? So there are various matters where the letters are important, notice is important, and which will connect you. If you ask a person to produce his income tax returns which are relevant to the issue, if he doesn't produce it, the court will draw adverse inference. So give a notice. You find out when do we notice to be given. Notice can be given at any stage from the very beginning till the case is concluded. When you start the court proceeding also, you give under the CPC notice. Order 11, interrogatories exchange, documents exchange, take inspection under Order 11, Rule 14. The court passes an order under Order 11, Rule 14 and 15 if inspection is not given. The court has a right to direct it. If the inspection is not given, the court will pass an order, you will not be allowed to use the document. Other side cannot use the document. That means the court can draw adverse inferences. Under Section 114 Clause G. There are a lot of safeguards. You should remember this provision. And ultimately, nail-hitting provision is Section 163. During the cross-examination or before the evidence commences, you can give the other side. Since you are going to give evidence tomorrow, day after tomorrow, next week, your matter is for evidence, you are hereby requested to give me inspection of the following document. Documents which are necessary for trial, you ask for it. The court will ask you to prove why they are necessary. You have to argue before the court. They are relevant to the issue before the court. If you have made allegation of corrupt practices, like in the case of Raj Narayan and Indira Gandhi's case, Raj Narayan said Mrs. Gandhi she has used official machinery for her election speeches. And government has spent money, and she also spent money in excess of the limit prescribed by the Election Commission of India. So, that is why I want these documents to prove before the court of law a corrupt practice within the meaning of a Representation of People's Act. Section 100 padenge aapko milega sab what is corrupt practice. Okay, please remember Section 163 of the Evidence Act for your purpose. Then next is, when confession given during police custody is relevant. So normally under Section 24, 25, 26, a confession is not admissible given to police officer. But under 27, we learned it here. When the accused person confesses to the crime, at the same time informs the police that the instrument of the crime, the weapon which he has used in the weapon, are hidden by him at XYZ places and discovery take place. That is also regarded as a confession. That is admissible under Section 27. I need not elaborate it. We have done this plenty. 27 याद कर लीजिए आप. Then evidentiary value of dying declaration. This के लिए section 32(1) to 8. So this we have gone through this section 32, clause number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 32(1) dealing with the how the death took place, the declaration with regard to death. 32(1) A, B, C, D. Then transaction के बारे में, customs के बारे में, record maintain, the custom of the given, and evidence of experts. These all you have to mention. Please remember section 32, clause 1 to 8. Okay. Now come back to the solve any of the two of the following. This is a problem. The fact that soon after the commission of the crime, A absconded from his house is relevant. Explain with provision. See, examiner is asking you, that is why I told you, you must remember your section. This section you remember easily. Anybody knows, can tell me?
Previous and subsequent conduct, no, sir?
Excellent. Section 8. Okay. Section 8 is the answer. Illustration, check karo. Illustration 8 में, let us see. And also illustration to section 9 में आया था. मोटी कौन section 9 में illustration आता है. The fact that soon after the commission of the crime, he absconds. So, section 9 के अंदर explanatory conduct of his behavior, and section 8 के अंदर motive आ जाएगा उसके अंदर. Now, this illustration you will find in section 9, if I am not mistaken. Let me see. It is correct. I'll just check section 9. Yes.
No, sir, it is not.
It is there? नहीं, देखो section 9 में illustration C check करो है. Yes, it is there. It is there. The fact that soon after the commission, you found section 9?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, it's online. Yes.
Because this is explaining the nature of transaction. Because section 9 is very wide. It speaks of necessary to explain the introduction relevant to the fact in issue. Then suggesting the fact in issue. Then establishing the identity. Anything. Identity relevant. Fixing time, place. Relevant happening which should be relation to the parties, and such as transaction are relevant. So this is all explaining his conduct here. So I remember because we had read it out. See, I am able, this is why I told you, you must read the illustration, get up in the morning and read it. So illustration is in section 9, but it relates to both section 9 as well as section 8. Now see, the fact that soon after the commission of the crime, A absconded from his house is relevant under section 8 as conduct and subsequent unto the affected fact issue. Then the fact that at the time when he left home, he had sudden urgent business at the place to which he went is relevant as tending to explain the fact that he left home suddenly. So the word explanation is covered under the provisions of section 9. See, fact necessary to explain. You got it? Fact necessary to explain or into. So you're explaining why you run away. So I told you in the government law college classroom, a professor makes a statement. Police is coming to interrogate a person and check as to who has stolen the watch of some other student. So another student runs away, or I as a professor run away. So there can be presumption against me, I have taken it out. But if I explain, I had to leave urgently because of A reason, B reason, that I am covered under section 9. So that is here. The illustration be that the fact that at the time he left home, sudden urgent. So illustration 9, this is both section 9 and 8. 8 explains the guilty part to show that he has the motive. That was his conduct. He ran away because guilty conscience pricks the mind. And he explained the reason why he went away, that he had urgent answer. He had to answer the call of nature. He has an appointment with the doctor, or he received a phone message from the family. There's a death in the family. If he explains, that is explanatory. That section 9 permits you that. Section 9 is more wider than any other section. It's like section 11, which embraces many types of evidence. Okay, remember it. B. A wishes to prove a dying declaration by B. So B is dead here. So A is trying to prove it. Let us see. What A has to prove first? Explain with provision.
A has to prove his death.
A has to prove that number 1 is dead. Then number 2, circumstances relating to his transaction. 32(1) के अंदर आएगा ना?
Yes.
He has to prove the circumstances relating to the transaction. That is what the section contemplates. When you see again, section 32 check करेंगे आप, open करें. When the statement is made by a person as to cause of his death, or as to any circumstances of the transaction, the cause of death is A killed B because I am his neighbor. I saw A caught him having an affair with his wife or in a compromising position. That is the reason for enmity. That is the reason he killed him. I myself a witness. She killed him. Then B, circumstances. The wife giving evidence, my husband had left yesterday for dining with the defendant who invited him for settlement of the talks for dinner. He never returned back. So where he went, for what purpose he went, and where he died is important. The cause of death, autopsy report is important, material. And where was the last seen and with whom is important. So she is giving the circumstances relating to death. Then in the Andhra Pradesh case, the children were shouting, father is attacking mother, he is killing her. And attracted neighbors. The neighbor came. The neighbor tried to separate him. In the meanwhile, they take her to the hospital, she died. So it was the circumstances leading to the intervention were the cries, shoutings of the children. And they all collected, congregated. They intervened. They took her to the hospital, but she breathed her last. Such evidence is important. Okay. Then A tries to prove in court by secondary evidence the contents of lost document. Please pay attention here. How to prove it and explain the provision. So you have to minutely pay attention to section 65. Unke clauses 1B, A, B, C, D. So under what circumstances you are permitted to lead secondary evidence? When the original is lost. Other side ke possession mein he is not giving it. Let us open section 65.
Open, sir.
Yes. 65(1)(c here. This A tries to prove in the secondary evidence the contents of a lost document. Now, contents of a lost document is cases in which secondary evidence relating to document may be given. Secondary evidence may be given of the existence, condition, or contents of the document in the following. You can give with regard to 3 things. Existence of a document. Number 2, condition of the document. Number 3, contents of the document. A, when the original is shown to be appear to be in the possession or power of the other person. So this I told you. If the defendant is in possession, you have to give a notice under section 66, call upon him to produce. This won't apply here. Second case is B, when the existence of the condition of a document has been proved to be admitted in writing by the person or by the not applicable here. See, check it out. When the original has been destroyed or lost, underline this word. This applies to you in your problem. Here the original has been destroyed or lost when the party offering evidence of its contents cannot for any reason, not raising his own default or neglect, produce it with reasonable time. So here under section 65(1)(c), the plaintiff or defendant who takes up the plea that he has lost the document or the document is destroyed. You may say that in the city of Bombay, so many hutman dwellers are residing in a chawl. In a tsunami, you lost the document. Government of Maharashtra declared protection to the slum dwellers, those who are in possession of the premises, even hutman dwellers, 1st of October 2020. Or maybe pehle ka 15 ka rule tha. So in the poor people have no shelter. There is leakages of water, a torrential rain, the document is destroyed. Essential document like ration card, essential document like your public record are destroyed. Allah. But you have a copy which you had given to your lawyer or your charter accountant or your school record may maintain. So you try to bring the copy. So when a client comes to you for taking advantage of this section, when you are representing, when a document is lost, please lodge a FIR. Court will insist. What are the precautions you have taken when document? Because it should not be without your mistake. It says that without your negligence or producing. You may say it is lost. If you say lost, mean you have to lodge a complaint. If it is destroyed in rain, mean then you cannot lodge a complaint anywhere. Only to God. It is lost in tsunami of Bombay. It is lost in a torrential rains of Bombay. I am staying in a ground floor premises where the water level was 6 feet in those days. So all your documents are torn and gone. So you will have to lead the evidence in that particular month or year. There was a heavy rain in the city of Mumbai. Or there was a burglary in your house. Somebody stole the documents. Tijori se khol ke leke gaya. I had lodged a FIR. I produced the copy of the FIR. So that will show that you are not negligent. You are not careless. You have taken ordinary care as a man of ordinary prudence. That is what the section says, that it is without your fault and negligence. I have not been negligent. Immediately upon the theft of the document, I reported to the police. This is my FIR. Samjhe na aap? So you will be able to prove this. This is the only way. If you just say that I lost it, I don't know where the document is, I have got so many documents, I'm a busy man, I don't keep track of it, then court will not accept it. Okay? Please note that. Then,
But sir, what if that is the actual excuse? Then what do you say? If you can't say I'm a busy man and that's how you lost the
no, if you say
document.
you're a busy man, the court say you are a man who cannot take, you are negligent.
So then should you lie, sir?
You should not lie. You must take, you should lodge a police complaint. Your client told you. Sometimes such evidence is permissible. The law wants evidence. You have to tell the client, have you lodged a complaint? Nahi. Agar nahi, to abhi jaake lodge karke aao. Before recording the evidence, don't lodge it, because the story should be convincing that you lost it. If he is producing a false document, don't take it up. Tell him that you don't have a case. And they are seriously, sometimes the documents come in a old trunk. In many matters, I argued before the court of law, many people got wills and a document relating to the family transaction, property, are found in a old trunk of a grandfather. They don't like to, old people don't like to part with their documents. That is a tendency, it's a human tendency. There are people, especially who are surviving for 90, 95, 100 years. They like to cling to the document and they don't want to part with children. They are very afraid that if I part with it, my child will throw me out. So, Before a document is, you don't know, they don't even reveal to you where the document. They may be 3-4 houses, they go down, they kept it here. Some people, wise people, they reveal it. Some people say that if I reveal it, a son will go against me, daughter will go against me, they will become my own me, they will rob my money. There are such cases come to me also. There are elderly people are very apprehensive. They don't like to disclose to the children because there's sibling rivalry in many such matters. So when you come to law, you will see all this. So you are confronted with so many problems. So once after the filing of the suit, you cannot amend the plain when the matter goes to trial. But if you take up the plea that during the trial, after the death of my grandfather, the trunk was open. In the trunk, I found various documents which I would like to produce, which I could not have produced earlier because they were not available to me. My grandfather never gave custody. It was only I came to know after his death, which occurred last week, and I opened and searched everything clean. I was cleaning the house, and I found very antiquated document relating to the subject matter suit, which I would like to incorporate. Your Lordship may kindly grant me permission to amend the plain or written statement and also lead my evidence. Okay, that should be your stand. And
Okay, sir.
that should be your stand. Amend your pleadings also. Please note that if necessary, you cannot be permitted to explain a document just like this you're waiting in the court. You must have in the plain then paragraph. Why you want? First, make an application for amendment of your plain under Order 6, Rule 17, plain or written statement, depending on whom you are appearing for. I may be permitted to amend the plain or written statement, incorporating and producing the document which have been belatedly found and which could not have been found by me despite diligent efforts earlier in the wake of the fact that they were in the custody of my senior citizen, my grandfather, father, who did not want to part with it. The whole trunk was hidden someplace in the garden, in the place. It was dug out and taken out. We traced it out. The court normally allows. The court would like to see that here the opportunity must be given to every party. No harm and prejudice will be caused to other side because other side will have a chance to file a reply, file written statement, and cross-examine you, and also lead evidence in rebuttal to disprove the case. It is not heavens are not falling if I don't accept his version. So normally the courts are willing to receive such document. Please note that, provided it's a reliable, believable case is made out, and you should not a cock and bull story. Many people make cock and bull story, leaving the case to be disbelieved that the court doesn't believe. You must inspire the confidence. You're pleading. See, when you are becoming a lawyer, you pay attention to drafting of the pleading correctly. Your affidavit should be correctly drafted. Plain written statement drafted. Material facts and dates and event. Not vague, no evasive. So your document can be admitted here. Okay, next Ajay. C में आ जाइए अभी. B, a client says to B, sorry, A client says to B, an attorney. A is the client, B is the lawyer. I have committed forgery and I wish you to defend me. So he has committed the act already before coming to him. It is not a new act. Whether B can keep secret or require it to be disclosed to the police, give reason. The first is protected under illustration A to section 126 because this commission of the offense appeared to have been taken place forgery before coming to the lawyer. I will read it. Number 2, then a client says to be an attorney, I wish to obtain possession of the property by use of forged deed on which I request you to sue. Can B keep the secret whether he is protected? No, that is illustration B. दोबारा चेक कर लीजिए सेक्शन के, it will be clear to section 126 का illustration A and B are the answer to this. Okay, please remember this. The first answer is coming in illustration A. A client says to B, I committed forgery, I wish to defend. So examiners would like to ask you a question from the Evidence Act illustration. इसीलिए pay attention to illustration with everyone. Then the illustration B is also there. I wish to obtain possession. That communication is not protected because it is in furtherance of the commission. You want to commit now, offense tomorrow. So that privilege is gone. The advocate can file FIR against him. Advocate will not be held responsible for it. He is not bound to say that I will keep it as a secret. I mean, privilege is lost. Yes. Next देख लीजिए अभी क्या है. Yes. Answer in 4 of the following brief. What is admission and who can, what can do valid admission do when explained in detail? That is section admission के बारे में पढ़े आपने section 17 to section 23. I need not elaborate it. Okay, yesterday we read it. Section 17 to 17 explained definition. 18, 19 representatives capital made, and 23 last finally when without consent. Okay, that you go through 17 to 20. B, who may testify? Who are the privileged witnesses? What privilege they enjoy and what are the limitations on the privilege? So you can testify. Section 118 tells you 119 who are the witnesses qualified to give. पढ़े आपने ना कल? Dumb witnesses, child witnesses, even persons suffering from insanity who are able to understand the court may make. So there is no bar as to who cannot. Section 118, 119, please read carefully. Then next question is, who are the privileged witnesses? So privileged witnesses are given to you from section 122 to 131. Husband and wife, advocate and barrister, isn't it? Magistrate भी आ जाएगा उसके अंदर. When his communication is protected, 121 onwards or 130 देखे, till 131. These sections, remember, which we have gone through right now very clearly. All this document you should remember. That is judges and magistrates. Then communication during marriage, 122. Evidence as to affairs of the state and official communication, 123, 124, when they are exempted from producing before the court. Then advocate and client, 126, 127, 128. Then 129, 130, third party is not bound to produce the document in their possession when they are not parties, but he is merely summoned as a witness. Okay, he can summon document relating to the case of A and B if he is having a letter, a document. He cannot be asked to produce a document which C must be having with D, X, Y, which is not a privity of contract. So that privilege is lost. That should be your answer. Next, take लीजिए. What is the burden of proof? To whom burden of proof lies? Explain the help of section 101 to 101. So यहाँ पे entire burden of proof is asked here. You should be able to will cursorily run through the section 101 में आ जाइए दोबारा. So we discussed the Evidence Act runs into 3 chapters. That is relevancy, admissibility, and burden of proof. Burden of proof में the chapters A3 then 101 I told you, whoever asserting a particular fact, he has to come and give evidence. Who is not deciding, illustration A desire the court to give evidence, the burden upon him. Then A must prove the document. A desire the court to give judgment that is entitled to contain a land in possession of so and so. A must prove that the existence of those facts. That burden will be upon him in that regard under 101. 102, on whom the burden lies. The burden of proof in a suit or proceeding lies on a person who would fail if no evidence at all were given on either side. If no evidence is given, what happens? See that plain and written statement here nobody gives. A sues B for land of which A is in possession and which A asset was left to A by will of C and B father. If no evidence is given on either side, B would be entitled to retain the possession because the will is not probated here, not produced before the court. Then A sues B money for due on bond. The execution of the bond is admitted, but B says it was obtained by fraud, which he denies. If no evidence were given, A would succeed. So the giving of money is not disputed. What is said, the fraud is played. But fraud he has not proved before the court of law, then A will succeed. Because B doesn't dispute about the money part. Then C may burden of proof as to particular fact. The burden of proof as to any particular fact lies on a person who wishes the court to believe is existent unless it is proved by any law that the proof of which shall lie on the particular fact. This is like a case of a defendant taking up the plea. The court has no jurisdiction. Then the burden will shift upon him. Otherwise, the plaintiff has filed the suit, he must prove the case. If the defendant takes up the plea that the court cannot try the case because there's a doctrine of res judicata. A previous suit was filed by the plaintiff without the leave of the court. He has withdrawn it. Under Order 23, Rule 1 and 3 of the CPC, it is a bar. You withdraw the suit without the permission of the court. Second suit on the same cause of action is barred. Then who will produce it, prove before the court that previous suit was withdrawn? The defendant. Defendant, the burden will shift upon him here. 104 में burden of proving fact to be proved to make evidence admissible. The burden of proving any fact necessary to be proved in order to enable any person to give evidence of any fact is on the person who wishes to give such evidence. So always the person who asserts a right or a liability, he has to prove before the court of law. A wish to prove a dying declaration of B.
Sir, if a person withdraws the suit, then he can file it again, no sir, later?
With the permission of, if you file a suit and you cannot do withdraw without the permission of court. If you withdraw, you cannot, on the same cause of action, you cannot file a second suit. Please, Order 23, Rule 1 पढ़िए clearly. CPC में पढ़िए. So यहाँ पे the 104 is interesting. Burden of proving a fact to be proved to make evidence admissible. The burden of proving any fact necessary to be proved in order to enable any person to give evidence of other fact. There are two facts here. यहाँ पे A wish that the dying declaration, to prove the dying declaration, first he must prove who is dead. Dying declaration doesn't come into play unless the person is dead. Like you cannot go for the probate of a will unless the testator is dead. Sanjana, you are applying for a probate before the court of law. You must prove that your grandfather, who is a testator, is dead no more. Other side says he is a living man. How can you produce? So the burden will be upon him here. B, A wishes to prove the secondary evidence, the contents of the lost document. A must prove that the document has been lost. That is why I said you lodge a FIR. You just cannot make a bare statement. The burden will be here under 104. The interesting question was asked here. You want to lead secondary evidence on a lost document. So you must prove. How will you prove it is lost here? The burglary in your house, chori ho gaya, koi attack kiya, robbery kiya, and you lodge a FIR. That is the proof asserting. Then burden of proving the fact of a case, accused come with an exception. Here this is under the Indian Penal Code. All prosecution take place. The public prosecutor has to prove the prosecution. Beyond reasonable doubt, accused is guilty. And it cannot be discharged. The evidence, the CRPC check kare in a criminal trial, just see that here. If the court is satisfied that the court is not happy with the evidence of the prosecution, the court doesn't call upon the accused to lead evidence. Just please see section 225 onwards of the CRPC. Open kare, मैं बोल देता हूँ आपको मैं. That's a very interesting section. Relating to burden of proof, section 225, starting with the criminal trial before the session court. Now the evidence for prosecution 231 check kare. On the day so fixed, the judge shall proceed to take all evidence as may be produced in support of the prosecution. So under section 231, the session takes the evidence of the prosecution, because you learned that in CRPC, opening of the case is upon the prosecution under section 226. Then trial is to be conducted by the public prosecutor. Then the date for prosecution evidence 230, then 231 evidence is that. Then the judge may, subclause paragraph number 2 padhe, 231 mein, the judge may in a discretion permit cross-examination of any witness to be deferred until so and so. Then 232 says, if after taking the evidence of the prosecution, examining the accused and hearing the prosecution and the defense on the point, the judge consider that there is no evidence the accused committed offense, the judge shall record acquittal. So the judge is not calling upon the other side, you lead evidence. So there is no mandatory requirement because the prosecution must discharge the burden beyond reasonable doubt. See, 232, the language is clear. If the prosecution failed to prove the case, there is no need for the defendant, the accused person, to lead evidence. Then entering of defense come under 233, where the accused is not acquitted. That means the judge is quite satisfied with the prosecution case. Under 32, he shall be called upon to enter defense and adduce evidence. So it is not mandatory. A session judge can tell the accused person, don't enter because the prosecution not proved the case. They are not discharged their burden. That is how under 105, if the accused takes up the plea that I am protected by insanity, I was protected by sudden and grave provocation, that section starting from section 74 onwards, isn't it? General exceptions कहाँ से शुरू होते हैं? The general exceptions are starting from section in the IPC 76 से check करें यहाँ पर. IPC, Indian Penal Code, general exceptions to the accused person which are available, they are commencing from section 76 onwards. General acts done by person bound to meeting, act of a judge, then act pursuant judgment, act done by, see, these all given here.
So
Act
chapter
done by-
4, sir.
Chapter 4 के अंदर section 76 onwards.
76.
यहाँ पे accused is taking defense, say for example under section 84 में आ जाइए. A person of unsound mind. Nothing is an offense which is done by a person who at the time for reason unsoundness incapable of knowing the nature of the act. He can't be convicted. Isn't it? Under section 84. Similarly, under section 7, a person says that I have committed the murder of B on account of grave and sudden provocation. That is also, and self-defense also included. So they are all covered under section 105 of the Indian Evidence Act. The burden is shifting. It is the accused. Normally, the prosecution has to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. But if the accused takes any of the exceptions, I cannot be convicted, I cannot be tried. At the time when the offense was committed, it is not an offense. Article 20 subclause 2 check karo of the Constitution of India. Under Article 20 subclause 2, you can take up this plea also. Even this plea is available to you in a defense. So not to forget your Constitution of India, first year when you become a lawyer and your third year, see? No person shall be convicted of any offense except in violation of the law in force at the time of the commission of the act charged as an offense, nor shall be subjected to penalty greater than that which might have been inflicted under the law in with force at the time of the offense. So you cannot be convicted. You may take up the black magic was not an offense at the time when the charge sheet was filed. It's recently concluded. It is not retrospective, it is prospective. अभी IBC के अंदर certain prosecutions आए, a person committing offences under the IBC, Insolvency Act के अंदर. It's a recent legislation. An old act done about 10 years ago, you cannot prosecute him under that. A director of a company did not do this, that. So you can claim the protection, and in which event that you are entitled to, it is not an offense. Burden will be upon you, the accused person, to prove that he has under the provisions of section 105. Now come to 106, please. Then see illustration. A is accused of the murder by reason of unsoundness. He did not know the nature of the act. The burden of proof is on A. Then the accused of murder that he gave sudden provocation, the burden is on him. See, there are three consequences. Then C, Section 135 of the Penal Code provides that whoever, except in the case under 335, voluntarily causes hurt, still be subjected to certain punishment. A is charged with voluntarily causing grievous hurt under 325. The burden of proving the circumstances bringing the case under 135 lies on the accused. He says that lesser degree punishment should be given to me and not a higher one. He is again on the accused. Okay, 105 is very important, where normally, boliye? Anybody saying anything?
No, sir.
Yes. Now come to section 106, burden of proving fact specially within your knowledge. When any fact is specially within the knowledge of any person, proving the fact is upon him. When a person does an act something other than which character, illustration check kar. When a person does an act with some intention other than the one which character and circumstances I suggest, the burden of proving that intention is upon him. So you can take up the plea that at the time of the execution of the will, A had confided to me not to give property to XYZ. That's a special knowledge. He only alone can judge it. Otherwise, the intention of the testator was to give equally. That special knowledge must be disclosed. B, A is charged with traveling on a railway ticket without a ticket. The burden of proving that your ticket is on him. So when a TC catches you at the station, where's your ticket? You don't have it. You can't tell the code. TC, you prove the case. The PC will take you to the lockup in the prosecution room. The police will tell you, you have to pay penalty for this. You say, I refuse to pay penalty. I had the ticket. You prove it, how you had it. I had it, but I had taken it, it is misplaced. How it is misplaced, you lead evidence. It's up to you. The prosecution, the TC will not be examined. The PC will only FIR has been lodged against you that you have been caught without a ticket and you did not produce the ticket at the relevant time. So at that time you had a ticket, you had to prove it. I booked it. My friend traveled along with me. We were in different compartment. My friend went away. Then she misplaced it. Give the reason. Then you examine the person from whom the ticket is on. The burden will be upon you. 107. Burden of proving death of a person known to have been alive within 30 years. When the question is whether a man is alive or dead and is shown that he was alive within 30 years, burden of proving that he is dead on the person who affirms it. So in many property cases, the allegation is that here, A had executed a sale deed in my favor, he dead and gone. Not available, he dead for 30 years. I have been writing letters to ask him to come and confirm it. I am in possession. I have acquired the status. I have paid money consideration. Under the provisions of section 54 and 55 of the Transfer of Property Act, doctrine of part performance, I have taken possession, or I am in possession in the capacity as a, what you may call it, ostensible owner, isn't it? I am in possession. Another possession was a forcible possession is taken by person in the more than 12 years. Adverse possession. I have perfected my title. So he is dead and gone. How can I examine it? The defendant will come into play that no, he is not dead. He is very much alive. 30 years and now passed. So the burden of proving that that man is alive will be upon the defendant. He was my relative. He was my uncle. He was my aunt. He was my grandfather. So this is the certificate. He went to Tirth Yatra. He went to so-and-so hospital. He was admitted. That you can disprove that the agreement which has been produced or concocted, he cannot lay in a hand. So he took up the plea that the man is dead, which is wrong. He is alive. One such matter I had fought in the court of small causes court in my junior days when the landlord took up the plea, tenant is dead and gone. He is alive, he is not paying me rent. He is alive, he is not paying me rent. The members of the family took up the plea. He had gone to Nasik, some North India, the pilgrimage place of Hindus, which it is called in North
Haridwar.
India. Yes, Haridwar. He had gone and he died there 7 years ago. And he has not been found. He has not been found for so many years. So the court accepted the evidence of the widow and the daughter, and he could not have paid rent because he's a dead man. And notice given to a dead man is illegal. I took up the plea that the notice cannot be given to a dead person. It should have been given to the heirs and legal representatives. He should have made inquiries. It is not given here. So on the basis, suit filed against a dead person is nullity. The suit was filed against a dead person. You cannot file a suit against a dead person. There are Supreme Court judgment which I had given you while discussing the Code of Civil Procedure Code. So such matters come up before the court. The burden of proving that a person dead is firm. Then burden of proving that a person is alive who has been heard for 7 years. This is the section which I had argued in the Court of Small Causes Court, where Justice Judge Kalyan Purkar, who was the judge, lady judge, very good judge, then she went to become a city civil court judge. She held a judgment in this favor. So the evidence of the wife and daughter is more probable. They have proved before the court that he was not seen for more than 7 years. See, provided that when a question is whether a man is alive or dead, and it's proved that he has not been heard of for 7 years by any person who would be naturally would have been heard of if he had been alive, the burden of proving that alive shifts upon the person offensive. So the landlord took up the plea that I have filed the suit correctly against him. He was alive. Then you prove it. The husband, the wife and daughter said he is dead and gone. He has gone to Haridwar about 9-10 years ago. Thereafter, he never returned. We presume he's dead. We made inquiries everywhere. And his whereabouts are not known. And the people who went along with him also said that he fell down from the, the valleys. Unfortunately, that happened. So the court buried. So we took up the plea that the suit filed is bad because suit cannot be filed against a dead person. From the inception, the suit is bad. So our contention was upheld. So the landlord wanted to prove the fact that he was alive, he could not prove it. He had no evidence. But if he wanted to succeed, the landlord, the burden will shift upon the person asserting that he is alive within 7 years. Okay? Then
So could he alter the plaint and then make it to the legal heirs instead?
That second suit you have to file. The present suit will go away. The suit already having been filed, old act is done, completed. It's a nullity. You have to file a new suit on separate grounds of eviction and giving a notice to them. On areas of ground of rent without invoking section 15 of the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, that is called giving a notice of forfeiture for 90 days, you cannot file a suit. It is mandatory. Please note that here. All other grounds you can file a suit without notice. For forfeiture, demanding a notice, demanding a rent, there must be 6 months rent must be in arrears. And notice was duly given under section 106 of the TP Act. Despite receiving the notice, the man doesn't answer. 90 days ke andar, he must pay the rent. If within 90 days time the rent is not paid, the landlord accrues a right to file a suit for eviction under section 16 of the Rent Control Act. He will succeed. Okay. Second suit. The first suit is now gone. The suit is
filed on years, no sir.
The earlier suit is called nullity. Huh?
Sir.
Boliye.
The second suit has to be filed on legal heirs, no
on
sir.
The legal heirs, because they are transmitted the tenancy under the rent control legislation. They are the heirs and legal representatives, and they are also the heirs under the Hindu Succession Act. So upon them the tenancy is devolved. So you have to file a separate suit of giving notice in case arrears of rent, and non-arrears of rent, other grounds like bona fide requirement, subletting, non-user, you can give without notice. That is the ruling of the Supreme Court.
That will be maintainable, no sir? This suit will be maintainable.
If no notice is required to be given other ground except rent, that is the Supreme Court judgment in Danpal Chettiar versus Yashodama Ammal, AIR 1974 Supreme Court, 79 Supreme Court, page 1745. I think I discussed it with you. It is there. Danpal Chettiar versus Yashodama Ammal, 9-bench judgment led by Justice Untwala. I think it's a leading judgment which we had discussed many times. Okay. Yeah, 108 हो गया, तो आ जाइए 109 के ऊपर. Burden of proof as to relationship in cases of partners, landlord, and tenants, principal, and agent. When the question is whether a person are partners, landlord, tenant, principal, agent, has been shown that they have been acting in such, the burden of proving that they do not stand or has ceased to stand each other in those relationships respectively is on the person who offends it. Suppose a principal says that I have terminated the agency of my agent and please do not deal with him. You have dealt with him and you are claiming damages from him, not correct. So the burden of proving the agency was terminated is upon the principal. And if the landlord said that I have terminated tenancy by giving a notice under section 15 of the rent control legislation read with section 106 of the TP Act, the burden of proving termination was taken place upon the landlord. Similarly, is partners under the Indian Partnership Act, one partner is accountable for other. They are acting in fiduciary capacity. They are liable to each other. So A partner said that B partner has misappropriated funds and he has walked out from the partnership. I have terminated him and I have filed a suit for a dissolution of the partnership firm. I am not accountable if any person is dealing with him. But you are a plaintiff, you have dealt with him. You have not read the notice for A reason, B reason. And you suffered losses and you file a suit against the partnership firm and both the partners. The B partner will take up the plea, sorry, I have done termination. I am not accountable. My liability ceases. So the burden will be upon the person here by under 109. If you want to escape the liability of passing a decree against him, he has to prove before the court, I have given public notice. I have filed proceedings. These are all, court can take judicial notice that the proceedings have been filed. I have taken precaution. I have informed the public at large that my partner has cheated me, embezzled funds, and I am not accountable. So when somebody comes to you in the family partnership, make it a point to give a notice in newspapers that you don't deal with XYZ. Otherwise, dealing you are accountable because they are acting in a fiduciary capacity. Partners, landlord, tenant, and the principal and agent, they are in a fiduciary capacity. Trustee and non-trustee, ये सब चीजें. Okay. Then 110 पे आ जाइए. Burden of proof as to ownership of rights. When the question is whether any person is the owner of anything of which he is shown to be in possession, the burden of proving that he is not the owner, he is on the person who affirms that he is not the owner. So when a suit for declaration is filed that I am the owner of the property, and he produces the document like a sale deed and all these, and defendant raises the plea, no, he is not the owner, and he is a fraudster, and he is sued. His documents are sham, colorable, bogus. It is upon the defendant to prove this. He has raised the plea of the document being illegal. So you raise it. That burden will be upon you to discharge. You can't expect the plaintiff to discharge the burden. The plaintiff has come out with a case and he has a good case. The plaintiff takes up the plea that he has in possession for more than 12 years and is claiming adverse possession. And you take up the plea that he can't claim adverse possession. It was a fiduciary capacity. It was a relationship of landlord and tenant. And it was a relationship of agency. And it was a family relationship. In a family relationship, you cannot claim adverse possession. So the defendant has to prove the case under 110. 11 में आ जाइए. Proof of good faith in transaction where one party is in relation to active confidence. Where there is a question as to the good faith of a transaction between parties, one of it stands to the other in the position of active confidence. The burden of proving the good faith and transaction is on the party whose possession is active in confidence. This comes under the Trust Act. Under section 92, 82 of the Indian Trust Act, these are private transactions. You are acting in a fiduciary capacity. Such suits are filed under section 10 of the Limitation Act. There is no limitation. So you take up the plea that here the property has been purchased in the name of my wife, my daughter, in a fiduciary capacity, or my brother, my grandfather, in a out of respect, in a fiduciary capacity. Accountable, it is for my benefit. No, the minor will take up the plea that here my uncle was my guardian. I mean, in a fiduciary capacity, he cannot misappropriate the property. So when a person is establishing fiduciary relationship, and he has to establish how the relationship was created, how he can benefit it. Under the Indian Trust Act, under the Specific Relief Act, fiduciary relationship is established. Sometimes relationship between agent and principal is also fiduciary capacity in nature when there is no breach of a trust here. So that is how section 111 tells you the transaction to be proved here. Then see the illustration. The good faith of a sale by client to attorney in the good faith of a sale by a client to an attorney in question in a suit brought by the client the burden of proving good faith of transaction is on the attorney. The attorney is not permitted to purchase the property from the client. There's a bar under the CPC. padhe humne. In execution proceeding, advocate cannot purchase it without the leave of the court. And if transaction taken place in good faith, the advocate has to show it, because normally it's an irregularity. The advocate should not be dealing with the client in the matter of sale transaction. Then the good faith of a sale by son just come to age of a father, as in question in a suit brought by the son. The burden of proving good faith in the transaction is on the father. So the son, in whose name the father brought the property, upon attaining majority, he will say that it is my property and it should be transferred to my name. The father will take up the plea that it was a Benami transaction. I spent the money in good faith in the same name. A dispute now arose. The father to establish it is good faith. So then the burden will be upon him in good faith, out of concession, love and affection for my son. At the time, when he was young, I bought it. Now I did not know. He's misbehaving. He's become hostile towards me. I cancelled the deal and I asked him to vacate the premises. So the transaction is null and void. So the burden will be upon the father. Presumption as to certain offences, that a person is accused of having committed the offence under subsection 2 in any area declared to be disturbed area under the enactment for the time in provisions of the suppression, disorder and restoration of maintenance of public order. These are all new offences where the subject to satisfaction of the officer can take action. Under the Preventive Detention Act, the TADA Act, अभी टाडा तो चले गया, अभी अनलॉफुल एक्टिविटीज एक्ट आया, ये यहाँ पे presumption of offence होता है, that the area which has been offended. So this section is applicable both in sedition cases also. Section 121A, waging a war against the government of India, criminal conspiracy cases के अंदर, इस केस के अंदर ये how the burden is shifting upon whom, unless the public records are given. So the prosecution has to prove it in certain cases here. 111 here. Okay, then 112 to padhe humne, 13 bhi padhe. There is no need to go through all this. So 113 A, B bhi padhe, dowry death ke bare mein. So 114 also we read. So you learn the entire chapter relating to burden of proof. Okay, khatam ho gaya, abhi hai aur kuch hai? Just tell me.
हो गया sir.
हाँ, बंद करेंगे आज.
So today we have taken 4-hour lecture, sir.
Okay, now time to sleep. Okay, but now you cannot. You have no complaint. You learn the entire evidence act, isn't it? In my company.
Yes, sir. So
So
when we are having
Yes,
next
sir.
lecture, sir.
Even my memory is refreshing with teaching with you all. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chalo,
Thank you so much, sir. So when are we having next lecture, sir?
Kal le lenge. Tomorrow, no. Tomorrow you have any exam?
No, sir. No exam now.
Tomorrow evening.
No
because
exam, sir.
yeah, because of the pandemic, I am also not going out now.
So what time?
Pardon? Evening में रख
What
लेंगे best
time?
ना. You can
6
finish your
o'clock, sir?
6 o'clock रख लेंगे. 6 to 9, 3 hours रख लेंगे. We'll
Yes,
try
sir.
and complete the Evidence Act, because now almost entire Evidence Act is before you. We have opened up the entire act, isn't it? All illustration,
Yes, sir.
example, judgment. The next questions remaining will take it up. Barrister का भी हो गया, and whatever. Then next I will take it up. I think ठीक है.
Yes, sir.
Whatever remaining will take it up tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, sir. Then we
Yeah.
can do ADR
Thank you,
also,
sir.
sir.
Good night.
Tomorrow. Let us all of us go have a dinner, and
Yes.
take
Yes, sir.
steam. Don't forget to take steam, all of you. Inhale for 5-6 minutes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Steam will
Thank
keep-
you so much, sir.
That steam will keep the corona away. That is my belief. I think I am more